Tottenham are, I think they've got 31 players over the age of 21. So we're at a situation now with 1 week to go. Ange Postecoglou, Daniel Levy and the club need to move on 6 players, basically just to hit this 25-man mark. If they don't move 6 players on, then that unfortunately means some will get left out of the squad. This is nothing new at Tottenham because it's happened in the past in terms of the European squad, but the rules do slightly differ. Not going to bother going into that, as obviously Tottenham aren't in Europe this season, and obviously just getting yourself into a massive hole because of the different rules. But yeah, as things stand, Tottenham at minimum need to move 6 players on, but we've got a list of players here. Could be about 10 players here who could potentially move on. So yeah, an awful lot to do.
No, it really is. It's incredible. And this is the thing, it's, as we're going to talk about over the course of this, it's like Spurs are linked with various centre-backs, but how do you bring in a centre-back right now when you've got 5 centre-backs in your squad? And I definitely can understand why people get frustrated and say, "Oh yeah, but bring them in and then sort it out after." It just doesn't work like that, because you just can you imagine having players just sat there unable to play any kind of football? And like I say, the financial side, when I said earlier about it costing almost $1 million a month, let's say for one of those, let's say if, I don't know, Lloris or Ondembele were to stick around and not be able to be registered, yeah, that's one player. If you end up with like 3, 4, 5 players, you just the drain, and and people want to see transfers. They want to see money put towards transfers, but if that money is going towards players that are sitting there doing nothing, then it's just like, it is throwing money away. So yeah, it's just crazy that they allow themselves to get into this situation every single time. And when you look at it, it's Kane, Winks, and Rodon are the only ones that have actually gone out of the squad. You could argue, if you wanted to throw in there, Lucas Moura, obviously, end of his contract. Danjuma and Longlay's loan ended. So yes, at the moment there's 6 less players, but then I suppose you could also argue on that Winks and Rodon weren't even at the club last season anyway. They're both out on loan. And yeah, that's the thing, isn't it? Like you say, so you need 6 just to balance your books going out the door. I suppose you could argue, and we'll talk about him briefly later on, someone like a Gift Orban doesn't affect your numbers anyway. It goes on that under 21 list. So yes, if they desperately wanted to move for him and were happy with the price, you could get that done, and it doesn't really affect anything else other than adding to a big wage bill that hasn't been cleared, I suppose, if they're looking at it from financial terms. My feeling is that when it comes to like a transfer incoming wise, I think maybe one move starts a domino effect if there's a bigger one. I don't know if loans particularly do it. My thinking is maybe Højbjerg, if, let's say, Atletico Madrid were to seriously kind of come in with a proposal that actually kind of was enough to entice Spurs, then maybe Højbjerg going starts to actually kick off some proper activity. Presumably, we know they'd probably have to look at a midfielder to come in to replace him. I don't know if it'd be a direct replacement kind of midfielder, whether it would be someone a little bit different, maybe a bit more attacking. But I do wonder whether that would be the case. And the Højbjerg situation itself is quite interesting, because you have a player who, let's be honest, despite whatever some Spurs fans were criticising for, he has probably been one of the more consistent, well-known Premier League midfielders in recent years. And that in itself, I think, allows you to set a certain price tag for him. He's, Danish international, performs very well as well on the international stage. So he's not a guy that you really should let go for free. However, not free, for cheap. But however, he also is in the final 2 years of his contract. And if you don't sell him this summer, then you have the scenario once again in a year's time where he is one of these players in the last 12, 11 months of his contract. And then suddenly, can you get anything for him? Does he sit it out and get a free transfer at the end of it all? This is the issue that Spurs keep getting themselves into.